Hey y'all, I'm Briscoe Diggs and welcome to another episode of Real Talk. Today I have with us a very special guest, and I like to say that a lot because most of my guests are very special. You have to understand, I am really shocked that I have these people in my life. First of all, he's a publicist, he's an activist, an award-winning youth activist, mind you. He's a father, and he's the author of the book, My Dear Queen. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lawrence Carroll.
Is this where the pause comes through?
The virtual.
I love it. Thank you for the intro. Thank you, Briscoe.
Thank you for being here. I'm really excited for this. First of all, before I get into it, I used to see you a lot before we met. I used to see you a lot at the Abbey. And I always found you interesting. You were always running around doing something. You were just working your butt off. I wasn't really sure what your job was at the time, but I just noticed that every time I would go to the Abbey, I'm like, who is that man over there working his butt off? It's like always, and always had that smile on your face. So I just want to tell you it was much appreciated. Yeah, because
well, thank you. Well, rest assured, I definitely was working that much for sure. Even though you really couldn't tell, I was working the front door, checking people in, so that way they can get to their tables for bottle service. So,
right.
You know, if you never figured that out, that's what I was doing.
Right. I figured out once we saw the reality show. I was like, okay. I mean, now I see what Lawrence does. I knew it was something important, though. You know, you do a great job. So, anyway. Let me ask, how are you holding up, and how are you doing through the COVID and the protests and the crazy voting thing that's going on right now? How are you holding up?
You know, I've been doing fairly well, to be honest with you. You know, I was just talking with a colleague of mine, and we're 7, 8 months into pandemic life, and all the way up until now, you know, I've been maintaining. But as of recently, you know, I've been struggling with my sleep. My sleep patterns and habits have just completely shifted. I used to be the type of person that can just go to bed and, you know, sleep like the dead for hours and nothing would wake me up. And now my mind is just constantly racing, thinking about what's happening with the world and what I need to do, you know, my day to day. And so I believe I've developed a small case of insomnia because I'm literally up every hour on the hour, and I have to sleep with the earplugs in order for me to shut my brain off, so that way I can actually get at least 2 to 3 hours in a night. So, yeah, you throw that on top of fatherhood and everything else. It's kind of like, you know, I'm in good spirits, but my body is drained and I'm a little exhausted these days.
Right, I can imagine. I can imagine. So now that you said that, let me ask you, you have a very unique family, and you went about it in a very unique way to become a father. And you and Brandy, of course, she's the mother, but it's just so exciting. I was married to my best friend for a while. We did not consummate, y'all.
Okay.
It was it was very unique. People kept saying, you know, your husband is gay. And she's like, yeah, I know. I knew this before we got married. It's a long story, but it's not about me. But anyway, yeah, I understand how a unique family works and how sometimes people give you that second look. But explain this, because you have your little beautiful son, Hartley. He's 2 years old now. And you had a very unique story. Can you give us a little insight into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I call our family, it's a new term. I say new traditional family, because I believe that we are paving the way, along with other LGBTQ families, of new traditions and new family structures. And so I'm a gay man, and his mother is a lesbian, and we are best friends of about 8 years, and decided to co-parent about 5 years ago. About 5 years ago is when we actually started the conversation to say, hey, look, you know, we want to start a family. What would that look like for the two of us? We had a relatively brief conversation. It was about an hour, kind of hashed out, you know, just like what we thought family looked like for the two of us. And then over the course of 2 or 3 years, we ended up, you know, just with this beautiful baby boy, as you said. His name is Hartley, and he just turned 2 not too long ago. So, you know, but we live together. We're under the same roof. We split everything, you know, 50-50 as much as we can, and we share the responsibilities, as, you know, as mom and dad typically would in any household. Right. But we just aren't romantically involved and never will be. So
is that pressure's off. That helps too. It's like,
right.
That's
absolutely.
That's
I don't have
so
to
beautiful.
worry about, you know, her feelings and when it comes to love and all that stuff, and she doesn't have to worry about that with me. We just have to worry about just loving each other and being respectful to one another, and that just goes a lot further these days. So
so wonderful. I know that you were on the Courtney Cox show 9 months on Facebook Live, and that was really interesting. I saw the whole process that you guys had gone through, and how emotional this the whole situation can be. It's like, this is something that you really want. And I know Hartley, one day he's going to look back and he's going to be so happy and know that his parents wanted him. They really wanted him. And that's just, we just
Oh
got
yeah.
goosebumps. Just got goosebumps.
Oh, it's heavily documented. That much is for sure. I mean, if he doesn't even watch the 9 months with Courtney Cox, he can go back to the show that we did with E, What Happens at the Abbey,
Right,
and see from the very beginning when we
right.
actually really had the conversations. We're going to the fertility specialists and all that. So it's pretty special for us to have been able to share our journey, through TV and through Facebook Watch and things like that. So therefore, yes, our son can grow up and say, wow, this is how I came to be. But both experiences were just so different. On one hand, with E, it was reality TV.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like to say that it's fake, but it's more of a just heavily produced atmosphere where you have the camera crews that come in and they want you to do certain things and all that stuff. And it was fun. It was like the Vanderpump Rules version of the Abbey or whatnot.
I liked it. I liked it.
The Vanderpump Rules, should I say? But no, but then with 9 months with Courtney Cox, as you said, it really documented the whole pregnancy journey from the very beginning all the way through until the day that he was born. So you really, and plus it was self-shot. So we actually got to film everything ourselves on iPhones, and then we turned it all in, and then they, cut it and made it look all pretty and stuff. But it was a completely different experience where we just really got to share the intimate parts of pregnancy and what that looked like from Brandy's perspective and what that looked like from my perspective. And I would definitely recommend anybody that's looking to kind of do something like that. They're actually casting for season 3 right now. So
okay.
Yeah, so if anybody's looking to, kind of show their pregnancy journey, y'all need to hit them up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a very good show. Very interesting. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of people want kids and they're going through, struggles and it's difficult. And I want to say this is my biological father was not in my life. His DNA is really strong, but he was not involved in my life. My dad, Al Diggs, he raised me since I was a year old. And a lot of people, I want to say a lot of people don't realize that almost anybody can be a father, but not everyone can be a dad. And it's really important to show the fathers that are just, I don't know if it necessarily should get a lot of praise for doing the things that they should be doing, but then we have to look back on it and say, wow, my dad really loved me. He really cared about me. And I did get that love from my dad. He adopted me and he gave me that love, but there was always something missing in the back of my head that not my real father. My dad's my real father. My biological father did not want to be in my life. And
well, I'm glad you bring that up. People will sometimes ask me, well, why did you do TV and things of that nature? And one of my answers is usually because I wanted to be able to show people that, one, Black men could be fathers, great fathers, and two, gay men can also be good fathers.
Thank you.
You have that wrapped up in one person. Not that I'm the poster child for any of those things, but do kind of take that as a responsibility to be able to show people who may not necessarily feel that way or believe that way, that there are people out there that can kind of, go against the grain and not fit your normal stereotypes. My father raised me and my brother, as a single dad for a large portion of my childhood. And so I had that father figure always. I had my grandfather, his father, that was always there. So fatherhood in my family is a really big badge of honor for me. But I like to have that conversation about fathers, all different types of dads, whether it's biological, step, foster, whatnot, because we don't really as a society focus on the role of fatherhood so much, at least the positive parts of it. You usually hear, my dad was can I curse on here?
Oh yeah, it's real talk. Say what you want.
Okay, cool. My dad was an asshole. He was a deadbeat. He wasn't around, and all these other things. And you usually hear more of that come to the forefront of a conversation about fathers than you do. My father was awesome, and he was around, and he was present, and he was emotionally available, and all of those things. So I kind of like to say, hey, look, there are good dads out there. Let's represent and let's talk about it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I used to feel like I was being oh God, how do I say this? Not being loyal to my dad Al when I would talk about my father. But I found my family when I moved to LA. I found my brother and one of my sisters, my biological brother. We were born on the same day, 5 years apart. Really interesting.
Oh wow!
And I worked with my sister on a show doing background, and I didn't know she was my sister. Excuse me?
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know it until I went. My brother set up a meeting with us to have dinner. And I walked into the restaurant and I'm like, oh, that was that girl I couldn't stand.
Oh, well.
I know,
Typically, we
right? She
can't
got on my
stand our
nerves, but oh, real talk. I'm being honest, but we we met and we got along for we got along a little bit, but we're not very close. We're still not very close, and that's on her end. I love her, but I don't
Yeah,
really know her.
yeah.
My brother and I have become super close, and
That's
I'm
beautiful.
so excited about it. So when I talk about my family, I have to emphasize that I have two different sides, so people realize that my
Mhm.
mother didn't have some older boy that nobody knew about. It's like, where did this guy come from? I was like, no,
Well,
it's not my father. Mhm.
well, and that's the thing too, why I like to say new traditional families, because family
Mhm.
could just be comprised of so many different things.
Exactly.
LGBTQ people, a lot of times we like to use the term chosen family because,
Hmm.
let's be honest here, when a lot of us come out of the closet or we say this is who we are, our biological, our blood family may kick us to the curb. And so therefore
Yes.
we have to go and choose new family members.
Yep.
And that, shows itself when we look at like ballroom culture and houses and how they're formed because, you have mother figures and
Hmm.
aunties and grandmothers and things like that.
Right.
Even though these may be, cis male people, they still take on those roles because, hey, they don't have that in their real life, or in their biological life. That's just not present. So, family, it really is what you make it. Brandy likes to say there's no wrong way to make a family, and I'm right there with her. Although
Yeah.
yes, there are some wrong ways to make a family. Duh. Family is just it's what you make, and it's a beautiful thing.
You're so right. Yeah, I have some bonus sisters that we met along the way as we were growing up,
Uh-huh.
and they're just as close to me as my biological sisters. So it's all
That's
good.
good.
It's really
That's
good.
good. That's
And
good.
yeah. So what was I going to ask you, Lawrence? Let's talk about your book.
Okay.
My Dear Queen.
Yes.
Explain why you wrote this book, and because
Plug
I think
myself.
yeah, thank God. I was going to say I hope you have a copy with you.
I got plenty of copies. Don't worry.
Yes. Tell us about how this all came about, and what was the catalyst for you to write this book?
My Dear Queen, I feel weird when I say this, but it's like I didn't write this book, although I did write it.
Mm,
I was just in a zone usually when I write poetry or write stories, I get into this zone and I just feel like something just comes inside of me and it kind of takes over and then I just write. And there was two parts to this. I was actually having a conversation with my older sister and she was sharing her hair journey with me and letting me know that we have a middle brother, and they're a year apart. And he teased her a lot as a kid. He picked on her, he made fun of her hair and things like that. So she had, just a pretty rocky relationship with her hair from a little girl all the way up through adulthood. And I wasn't so nice about it either once when we became adults. I didn't like, girl, I'm like, why in the hell are you wearing your hair this color? Like, what the fuck? What is it? Why? But listening to her tell that part of her life and the impact that it had on her made me feel bad.
mm. Oh, I
And
understand.
also at that time, Brandy and I, we were expecting what we thought she was going to be having a girl. We
Mm,
hadn't gotten the results back as far as the gender and all that stuff, or the sex, so you will. So I'm
mm,
thinking, wow, if I had a little girl, what message would I want to share with her? So therefore, she has a little bit of an easier road in life. And they both just kind of just merged together and ended up writing that poem. And next thing I know, I ended up meeting the illustrator a few months later, whatnot, and she brought it to life.
so
Yatunde
cool.
Sap, she's absolutely phenomenal.
Mhm.
Her name was in the book, and you guys can find her on Instagram and things like that.
I'm gonna put the links down because I'm gonna put all links down
Okay,
for us. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
she's just a gifted artist, and I feel like without her contribution to that poem, it wouldn't have the impact that it has today because the visuals really help tell and bring it all, tell the story and bring it to life.
Mhm.
It's one thing to just hear the words, which I love audio. I love audiobooks. So at some point,
Me
My Dear
too.
Queen will have audio versions.
Wow.
But it's a good conversation starter. And every time I put this book in the hands of a grown woman or a young girl of color, whatnot, I get like this overwhelming response of, I wish I had this when I was a little girl.
Mhm.
Or this is so great for my daughter to read. She's a mixed girl and she's struggling with her hair. She's 11 years old. And thank you so much. I mean, just the positivity that comes behind people reading and it's what, a 12-page book.
Mm.
It's
The
really,
message is
really
strong.
simple.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just basically just, encouraging young girls and women of color to just celebrate your hair. Wear it as you will, wear it in a
Mhm.
fro, wear it with some dreads, braids, however you want to rock it. That's
Right.
your hair. just understand that it's beautiful as it is, just like how your mother's hair is beautiful, you know.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to, you know, send some positivity out into this world because it is so crazy and it's making me lose sleep every single night. So hopefully this book will, you know, help somebody else sleep a little better and get through their day a little bit easier.
That's amazing. Hold it up one more time so we can see. I want to see one more time.
There you
My
go.
dear, look at that. That's gorgeous. Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
It's
I'm gonna flip
beautiful.
through some of the pages so you all can see this artwork because it's absolutely like I said, it just this is one of my favorite pages. I mean, just
Whoa. And I know that little girl in my mind. I've seen her in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
right. Oh yeah, you went to school
Like
with her.
my niece Delaney looks just like her, my brother's daughter. Yeah. So it's crazy. Amazing. You became a youth activist and a youth mentor. I'm sorry. How did that start? What made you want to become a youth mentor?
You know, I've always been involved helping out younger people, even back when I was in college, actually even in high school. I used to mentor, you know, a few of my cousins and kind of help them get through math and all that stuff. And then once when I got to college, part of my work study programs was to volunteer or work at a charter school. You know, so I go to the after school programs and help the kids out with their activities and homework and things like that. And I just always felt, especially since I had grandparents who were teachers. My grandmother was a kindergarten teacher for 36 years. My granddad taught music. Just being surrounded by young people and helping young people has just been part of like my upbringing. So, you know, once when I had the opportunity to come to Los Angeles and volunteer for Free Arts, which is an art therapy organization, you know, they've got like 3 different programs or whatnot. I just latched onto it. You know, it just felt good. You know, here I get to kind of express myself creatively and work with young people that are struggling with, you know, their family situations or things like that. And, you know, what was incredible about that is you really got to see how pure kids can be
Right.
just when they express themselves through art.
Mm.
You can tell a lot about what a kid is going through just based on what they draw, what they write, what they create. So, you know, I really took that and ran with it, and I would create art exhibits at the end of every 6-week program that we had. You know, I'd curate basically this whole little art gallery. I'd invite their parents. I'd put up a step and repeat. I'd bring in a photographer. They get to walk on red carpet. It was really cute.
That's
It was
amazing.
nice, you know, and turned it kind of into a fundraiser, if you will, or an awareness event for Free Arts. And Free Arts, you know, recognized me for those efforts after being with them for a couple of years. And you know, they awarded me with the Youth Mentor of the Year award. It was their first one.
The first one to say is the first one. Don't forget to
Yeah,
say
it was the first
that.
one. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
amazing.
So that was pretty awesome. And then, so I took that experience and then I moved it over to the LGBT Center, the Gay Lesbian Center here in Los Angeles. They have a youth mentor program called Life Works. And so they matched me up with he was then 12 at the time, incredible young guy, and had just come out, didn't really have anybody else that he could talk to about it. So, you know, I just kind of, I guess, became his mentor, if you will, more like a friend, older brother,
Mhm.
if not. That's just kind of how I saw myself. Because mentorship goes 2 ways. You know,
Mhm.
I feel like even as a mentor, I can learn something from my mentee.
Absolutely.
I don't really like using the word mentor so much. It's just kind of like, you know, we're just here to help each other out.
Right.
But still keep in touch with him to this day. He graduated high school. He's off to college. I can't believe it's been that long. So I'm old. Uh, just saying
Oh, I'm
that.
ancient.
We're all there, especially with this TikTok generation. Lord have mercy. But it's just it's nice to you know, take whatever free time you do have and make sure that life is a little bit easier for somebody else, and not choose to do that with young people.
That's wonderful. I think that's great. So let's talk about you as a dad. Uh, were there any things that you were totally surprised by becoming a dad obviously for the first time, but I'm sure it was, you know, you have expectations, but I'm sure it's a lot different. Reality is way different than.
Well, you know, expectations, you kind of throw those out the window
Okay.
because pregnancy is just in itself you have to adjust every single day. And then once when the baby actually gets here, you're still adjusting every single day. And then once when the baby starts to get older and crawling and walking and talking and screaming at you and all that stuff, you can't have any expectations. You can't. You just have to just kind of just ride that way. Have a goal and kind of know where you want to go, you
Mhm.
know, with things. But I think the one thing that surprised me the most was just how isolating, you know, it felt at first,
Okay.
because you know, I was the only one out of all of my friends that became a father. So you know, all of my male friends didn't have kids, and
Mhm.
they didn't have families, and I felt like they couldn't relate to me, you know. And of course your social life just goes out the window when you become a parent. You have no time to go out. You have no time to go kicking and party. If you do, then bravo, good job. I don't know how you do it,
Right.
but I didn't even want to. I didn't want to go party, and and I don't even drink anymore. I stopped drinking 2 years ago, right before
Okay.
the baby got here. So it was just a complete life adjustment. It was a complete shift. And again, I wasn't anticipating feeling like, man, I am the only one doing this. Yeah, of course, I have my brother who has a daughter. Of course, I have my father I could talk to who has kids, obviously. But, when you're amongst your peers and your peers don't have kids, man, it is a lonely road sometimes. At least it was for me. And as I talked to more dads about that, I started realizing that I wasn't the only one that felt that way, that a lot of fathers actually do go through that. So, that's kind of how it started, getting out of that now. They say it gets easier. It does, but
just wait till he becomes a teenager.
That part. So spending a lot of time with grandparents at that point.
Yeah, right. I was a good little kid until I don't remember how old I was, but now things just started going crazy.
Oh, I was an awful teenager. Awful.
Oh, yeah. I remember the day my nephew was born. I was there the day he was born. I was one of the second or third people to hold him. And now he's 13. And I'm like, who the heck is this person? He's like, he's a person now. And it's like, no.
A grown person doing stuff with opinions and talking and ready to vote and all that stuff. You'd be like, yo, wow, okay, how did this happen?
Speaking now, let's go back to hair for a second, because a lot of people, I'm not even sure, I guess maybe people that are outside of the melanin community see a little black blonde baby and always have these questions or weird statements. I have blonde people in my family. I totally understand it. But it's just like, wait a minute, yeah, he's blonde. Just, okay, get over it. Or, say, oh my God. It's like, wait.
Welcome to the beautiful world of genetics.
Right.
And for anybody that filled out a 23andMe or an Ancestry.com or African Ancestry.com, when you do your lineage, you will see that you probably have a little bit more DNA splashes of color or, non-color, whatever, is politically correct these days.
Right.
And that's just the case for my family, obviously. Right. I'm not 100% black. You can see that, my skin is fair complected and I've got green colored eyes. Same thing has happened with my son. And my son, with his mother also being biracial, she's Mexican and black. You just got so much going on. But I did put on my Instagram a few years ago, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see baby Lawrence had blonde hair. Yes. I was born blonde hair, blue eyes. I was up until the time I was about 3 or 4, things started to change and get a little bit darker. And you start to see a little bit of that evolution in me as I got older. And it's kind of happening with him. His hair is getting a little bit darker. It's not as platinum blonde. Because I look at him one day and I'm like, boy, when is your hair going to start getting darker?
He's so cute.
You got too many people asking me questions and I'm done.
Those eyes are amazing. His looks, he's intense. See his brain working. But I'm half Puerto Rican and half black, and I was raised in a black household. My biological father is what they would say white Puerto Rican. I don't even know how to differentiate in the world. But anyway, at the time it was I was born in 1962, so I think it probably was a little bit of a problem with my parents.
You were born in 62?
Yeah, I'm 58. I'll be 60 in 2 years.
Really? Wow, you look amazing.
Thank you. Wow. Jeans. I don't know. I moisturize like this.
Yeah, you do. You must. Whatever that regimen is, that is fantastic. You look wonderful. Wow, 62.
Thank you. Thank you.
If whoever's watching this, y'all need to give a round of applause to the host because you look.
It's from my mother, and that's why I'm like, I, even though he didn't raise me, I'm glad he gave me these jeans. But it was interesting. I'm not really when I lived in New York, I didn't speak Spanish, and I was not. In New York City, it's a little bit different. Puerto Ricans, a lot of them are Afro-Latino, so it's okay. But when I moved to LA and I would audition for a part for a Latino person, what are you doing?
They don't want you.
They mean Colombian, Mexican, and whatever, or white looking. I'm like, what does that mean? Y'all don't get it. But now that Pose came out and we're seeing all these Black Latino people, like, I get it now.
Oh yeah,
we're everywhere. So
absolutely. Well, even in our own household, it's nice because Brandy has gone through her own evolution. I don't mean to speak for her, but obviously she's not here right now. But discovering Afro-Latina as an actual thing and the history of it all, has definitely helped in her own personal evolution. And I'm starting to see that in different industries and society, and how we're starting to educate ourselves a little bit more about cultures and the different nuances, if you will, and just, I guess, experiences within that. Because yeah, you can't just paint one brush,
Right.
across just Black people and say they're all the same. No, we're not. Can't do that with Puerto Ricans. You can't do that with,
Mhm.
Latin cultures. You can't do that with
Right.
Asian cultures. You can't even do that with white cultures, really. And I
Mhm.
mean, like
Really?
European white cultures. And
Mhm.
even the white cultures here in the United States, you can't even
Right.
really do that, because Southern white is very different than Northern white, which is
Mhm.
completely different than West Coast white and all that. So,
Right.
I take it back to education, and I wish that people would, educate themselves a little bit more on people that are not like them. But I'm starting to see more of that,
Right.
and especially with young people. Young people these days, I don't mean to get political, but
Mhm.
they
No,
are really showing up and showing out
they
as
are.
far as letting their voices be heard and what they will put up with and not put up with. And it is exciting, because
It
I didn't
is.
have hope for the future for a very long time, because I felt like they were all focused on just being the next Kardashians, and
Oh,
apparently they're
and
not. So
just all that. Yes, honey. Yes.
there's like a small group, I think, like from the 2010 to 2012, 15 generation, yeah, they were focused on that. But this younger one, oh man, they're great.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It really is exciting. As a kid, I was a lone wolf in a way where we moved around a lot, different states. My dad Al he worked for Eli Lilly Pharmaceuticals, so we would move different
Oh,
states. So we ended up in Indiana for 16 months, and we
oof,
moved from New
too
York to
far.
Maryland. And then it was crazy. It was the 70s. I was a dancer, and I was a
Oh
champion
no.
disco dancer thing at the time, and I had a white blonde dance partner.
Oh no.
People lost their minds. This black boy dancing with this
Yeah.
white girl dipping and doing. They were like, wait a minute. But then all of a sudden, there was a shift where the younger kids were like, no, you're not going to get on. He's with us. And I became empowered. And it was
Mm.
just a little bit different. But I got stories from my sister, who was a beautiful black woman, dark skin, gorgeous woman, brainiac. And there was nothing more frightening to those people at the time than an intelligent, beautiful black woman.
But
She was a
well,
threat to
that's
them.
still the case.
Yeah,
That's still the case.
it
I mean,
is.
look at who's running for look at who's on the vice presidential ticket right now. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like that's still a thing. You can
Yeah,
get a strong, beautiful black woman, intelligent, or just a strong black woman in general. I don't care what she looks like. It intimidates a lot of people.
right,
So not much has changed since then.
right. We have a
Listen,
cockatiel. I don't know if you can hear it.
I heard a little something, but I just figured it was just outside noise. But that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
We got two dogs. I'm sure you heard one of them not too long ago.
yeah.
But
Okay.
welcome to pandemic life, right?
I know, right? Yeah, yeah. I love. Her name is Blondie, and he's very vocal. It's like, look, when am I getting my interview? She's so
He was
cute.
like, wait a second, I've got something to say about this too.
So I haven't met Brandy yet, but I always feel like I already know her. She reminds me of someone that would be in my family, and I just want you to give her my best and say hi to her. And I know she's the one that gave birth, so I know
Yeah.
she did really the hard part. I'm sure.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, absolutely.
She's
It just kind of goes without saying. But yeah,
yeah,
I will definitely share the love with her.
yeah, yeah. You know what, Lawrence? The the last time that I saw you in person, I believe, was Kyle Chan's, not this year's birthday party, but a couple of years ago. Because I think you're the coordinator of the birthdays, or you
Uh-huh.
you're the
Yep.
producer of the
Not
birthdays.
only am
Uh,
I one of his good friends, but he puts me to work every year for his birthday.
yeah.
Because I had an event production company some years ago, and he hired me before we became really good friends. He hired me, to produce. It was actually his. I'm not going to say what age it is because he'd
Yeah,
kill
yeah,
me. It was one of his birthdays, and it was beautiful. It was at Pump, and
yeah.
right after that, it snowballed into a friendship, and then it turned into, hey, can you do my party again? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then it was just kind of like, all right, your birthday's coming up. You need my help.
Yeah, yeah. There are
But
always some great parties. You do really good. So I don't know if we're gonna
oh,
have one of those in a while, but
they're amazing. Well, hopefully we can get back to that in 2021. I'm
yeah.
not exactly sure, but if he can do something, I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
he will, and then perhaps we'll see each other again face to face.
Right. I actually won this at one
Oh yeah,
party.
okay.
Yeah,
I know exactly what part of that came from. Uh-huh.
I wear it
That was
all the
about.
time. I actually won two, and I gave my mom one, so she likes it too.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
So, um, So what are your plans for the the not too distant future? Do you have any new plans that we can talk about or
Um, I just recently joined the board of a organization. It's a nonprofit called Encinitas for Equality. They're based
okay.
right outside of San Diego. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Southern California, but it's a small beach city, if you will, right outside of San Diego County or within San Diego County. And they actually created a co-op of Black artists and Black designers and things like that, businesses, where My Dear Queen is actually sold at this co-op. So they
Yes.
reached to see if I'd be interested in joining. And of course, I was like, yes, absolutely. And the next thing I know, the conversation led to, well, will you be part of the board? And I'm like, yeah, of course. The whole mission is beautiful. I mean, it's really, just fighting for equality on so many different levels, from policing and our relationships with police to, housing and education and
Mhm.
politics. I serve on the fundraising committee, fundraising and events, because it's just one of my strengths. And
Right.
so we're building out the 2021 calendar right now, of different fundraisers, really putting our sights on, obviously, Martin Luther King weekend, and then coming
Mhm.
up in February for what I would like to call Black Love Month, not Black History Month, because I
That's
would like
good. I
for
like
us
that.
to start. Right. I would like for us to start, shifting the focus and being more focused on loving Black culture and loving Black people and really using that as the forefront, still talking about the history and still being active in the community and things like that, but not so much being like, oh, for 28 days, we're just going to talk about the history of Black folks. I've heard the story of Rosa Parks enough. Let's move on.
Yeah.
No offense to Rosa Parks. I'm just saying. So
Always this thing. They recycle
they
the
do. They do. Black History Month I'll be honest, it's gotten old and it's gotten tired.
yeah.
And there's young people out there that, their focus is a little bit different these days. I think to
Mhm.
capture the attention of people, from all generations, we need to kind of
Right.
just shift the narrative in the conversation a bit. So that's one thing that you can expect. I do have My Dear King that is
Oh,
in the work well. So that will be released at some point in the upcoming months. It's a completely different um, uh, um, conversation, if you will, from My Dear Queen. So it's not about hair. It's more about, your emotional health, your mental health, and things like that. Just stuff that you
good.
don't really talk to a young boy or a
Right.
man.
Hmm.
So I've got those two things, and perhaps maybe I'll end up on another TV show in the future. I don't know. I keep getting hit up for castings, and our family keeps getting hit up for castings. So you may see us on somebody's TV screen again.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all look great on camera, I have to say.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're
And
gonna
you
ride this
represent
out.
yourself
I
very
hope I
well.
look as good as you as I get older. I mean, I'm not trying to say that you old or anything, but
Just
we'll ride this out for as long as we
just
can.
yeah, when I start getting this goobity gop, I'm not getting the facelift, but I will do the
I'm not above it.
someone, I'm not gonna say that person's name, but they put the filter over their face, and they always forget. You got a neck.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, the neck is the hardest.
you got
If
it.
anybody sort of work done, the neck is always
Right.
the hardest, and
Yeah,
that's the
I'm
big
like, I
given.
do this a lot.
Oh
Oh my
goodness.
goodness. Well, Lawrence, this has been so nice talking to you. I've been excited about. This sounds crazy. I've been excited about you for a while. The little conversations that we've had throughout the maybe like 4 years. Let's say we've known each other. We're not super close, but I enjoy you as a person. You just seem like a really genuine guy, and I'm always like. I remember at I threw a party for Ariana from Vanderpump Rules, and we were out on
Mhm.
the balcony on the terrace, and we were. I shared with you my
Uh-huh.
status of being HIV positive, and that was the first time that you knew that, and you were just so kind and so open to what I was saying, and for basically being a stranger, I felt the warmth, and I felt that, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
That makes me know that I'm doing the right thing by being so open with my status.
You
Spent
are.
almost
You
half my
really, really
life
are.
as
I
positive.
mean, the feelings are reciprocated, and it was just very. It was a special moment for me as well, because that's not a conversation that you normally have with someone,
Yeah.
and I took that as a very special moment for you to share that with me,
Mm,
and definitely wanted to treat that with as much care as possible, because
yeah.
leading up to years of this conversation not being so taboo, it has been so taboo, and people
Hmm.
have kind of look the other way from actually
Right.
talking about it. How do I treat this person and all that? And I just wanted you to know that you sharing that with me was not going to change. how we interact with one another and
Right.
our conversation. And let's talk about it. Let's have real talk.
Right.
uh, and here we are, still friends after that.
Yeah,
So
and I appreciate it. It made, like I said, it gives me the strength to just know that I'm going on the right path. When I first was
Mhm.
diagnosed, it was 94. I was 32. And,
Wow.
and everybody was dying around me, and I'm just, first of all, in that first year, I got fat as hell, because I eating everything I wanted. And then it took me like 10 years to get to the point of getting my life back. And once that happened, I'm like, well, I can't sit around and just be quiet. I have to let people know that this definitely could be a death sentence if you don't take care of yourself. But if you take care of yourself, you can live with this. And I'm not trying to put rosy, glasses on everything, but you just got to just hang in there, because you never know how
Yeah.
life is going to be. You
Yeah.
never, ever know. I never thought I'd be 50. I never thought I would be this alive right now. So
That's
every day, when I'm hurt and lazing around, I'm so glad I'm able to do that even.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's important. And like I said, when having an open conversation with people and being accepted really, really helps. It's just like coming out again. I had to come out over and over again to people,
Yeah. Yeah.
The gay part was real easy. I could care less. I was never in the closet. I'm like, "Well, gay, can you see? Are you blind?" But the other part is like, I remember telling one girl before we go on set, I was working on Glee. I just got the job. And I remember someone saying, if you have any conditions like epilepsy or whatever, you need to tell the medic. So I went to him, and I'm HIV positive. I want you to know, he goes, you don't really have to tell us any of that. That's your business. You're not going to
Wow.
spread it along by being who you are. It's just, I said, no, what it is I was always scared if I fell and cut myself. I'm like, what are you going to do? Bleed everywhere? So it was just like, calm down. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Beautiful.
And I stayed on that show for 5 years. And it was because of conversations like that I had with people like you that gave me that strength to go, you know what? I'm not going to sign, but I let people just know that, hey, especially now, this sounds even worse. Back in the day, I said, I am never, ever going to be in a relationship ever again. What I meant by that was not in a love relationship, just having intimacy with anybody. I wrote it off. And then the way life has changed, it's like, okay, let me be open to maybe one day, letting that happen. Right now, I'm so focused on my career, and, so glad that I'm healthy, and I'm not a fat old man, because I didn't want to die as a fat old man. I just did not. nothing against fat old men. Y'all are cool. Some of y'all are, but I did not want it on my own self. So I got myself back, and I'm able to talk to you and spread the word about your book and your fabulousness.
Well, thank you. And you have a wonderful platform, and I really, really appreciate you inviting me on here, having this conversation, and for all that you do as far as having that conversation about HIV and just any other conversation that needs to be had that most people really won't talk about. Thank you for this, because this has actually been a great highlight of my day. So
great. I'm so glad.
It is.
I'm
I love talking to people.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk soon, and definitely, when something else comes up or you just want to chat or real talk, let me know. The show, I can safely say that I will be launching probably next week.
Okay.
You say probably. I'm still adding in all the little information I need to on episodes, but I have quite a few episodes done. I was told to stop filming because I was like, I said, no, I have to get Lawrence in here. I have to get Lawrence in here. So
I'm glad I made it.
Yeah, you did make it, and I appreciate it. Give Brandy my best.
Absolutely.
Give your little baby Hartley, just say, what's up from Briscoe, and and you stay fantastic. You're a good man and a great dad, and I just want to thank you so much for being on Real Talk.
I appreciate you.
And y'all out there, I want you to remember, if you have a dream in your heart and a plan, it's never too late. Can you dig it? I don't know what that last part gave. Thought I was cute. Let me. All right, Lawrence. Don't go that. Let me say. I'll talk to you later. Okay.